Welcome to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome inside the KDKA CW studios as we talk about another home loss for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke with you, and we're going to be with you until 6 o'clock. We have player analysis, player interviews. You'll hear from Mike Tomlin, Kenny Pickett. We'll also take your calls along the way. I would label this a killer loss, despite everything that happened into. You can't lose to the Jets. You can't lose to the Patriots at home if you think you're a team that can compete for the playoffs.
You lose to a 1-2 team at home, but that's 3 AFC losses in the first month of the season, sitting at 1-3. You didn't lose to an NFC team. You've lost to 3 AFC teams. The Steelers have put themselves in a big hole, Bob.
They have. And Mike Tomlin had seen enough of Mitch Trubisky. And you and I a little bit disagree on this. I thought it was time to do it just because I saw nothing in the first half. In fact, I tweeted this out. They had 10 days to prepare, and this is what they present. The first half, 6 points, that's it. You seem to have a different take.
I did have a different take. I thought they were on the cusp of big things. Trubisky was playing with more confidence. I thought he made some good throws. If that Deontay Johnson touchdown throw would have been actually a touchdown, so close, it's a game of inches, it would have changed the complexion of this game. And so I do think that this was predetermined, Bob. We can talk about that as the show goes on, but I think that they had, going into this game, the idea that they were going to play Kenny Pickett in the second half. It just seemed like his demeanor was different. But look at right here, Bob. This would have changed the game. But I just think, like we were talking about, Trubisky was playing better with more confidence. He was making better throws.
See, I didn't see that today. I saw the exact opposite. I saw a guy who was struggling, not field aware on opportunities to step up in the pocket. And I thought that's something that has plagued him. There was a time today he got sacked on a play when there was a wide open gap in the middle. He should have just stepped up and run with it or thrown from
that one when he tried to spin out the back, right? And you've seen Zach Wilson do it a couple of times and they get free.
Yeah, but he's
the feel for what's going on.
I just don't think he had a feel for it.
I don't know. What I saw was an offense at times that moved the ball. Their best drive in the first half, they ran the ball. They lined up with 2 running backs and 2 tight ends and pounded the football. They had a run from Najee for 13 yards, a run by Jaylen Warren for 14 yards. It set up some of those throws down the field, and then they went away from it. They've got to be consistent and build on plays and build from drive to drive, from series to series, and that didn't happen. And in the second half, there was a different energy in the stadium because of the fans. The fans just are so behind Kenny Pickett, and I've been on that field, Bob, at Acrisure Stadium, Heinz Field, and when you're on the field and the fans are behind you and they're cheering and they're yelling, it's different. You play with a different energy because the energy comes from the fans in those moments. And when Trubisky's on the field, it's completely different.
Yeah, and Kenny Pickett matched that energy. He came in, you could tell he was confident. He made a tremendous throw. When he took a hit, stood in there, knew he was going to get walloped, and he still put it right on the money down the middle of the field, something we've been talking about a lot, to Pat Freiermuth, and that set up a score. But that play right there is indicative of what he's capable of doing. However, there are 3 interceptions. I'm not going to blame him. Obviously, the last one was a Hail Mary. But the one to Freiermuth, that's one he probably should not have thrown.
Yeah.
Freiermuth got his hands on it, but it was high.
It was high, and he forced that ball. And Freiermuth, you'd think, if he's as good as advertised, he should have caught that ball. But it was a high ball, and it was intercepted. And you talk about the Chase Claypool interception, Bob. I mean, if he could have thrown the ball more to the hash, more outside to the numbers, and could have let Chase
Trubisky,
run the ball.
Right?
Yeah, no, that was Kenny's first interception. First pass the second half, he threw the ball down to Chase.
There was another one with Chase Claypool, too, that I thought he should have gone up. He's a big dude, right? 6'4".
He's a big guy.
He needs to go up and make that play.
The one thing, I think the difference here with Kenny and Trubisky, what I saw today, Kenny throws the ball in there with no fear. And he gives his receivers an opportunity. Kenny Pickett, Pickens. I get those names mixed up. Pickens. He throws the ball in there and gives him a chance. That's right. But he gives him a chance to make a play.
And the one completion, the one completion that George Pickens along the side, he threw it before he ever turned.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and I thought the first play that it was a bomb to Pickens in the first quarter, Trubisky, he waited too long. He took like a 10-yard drop, and he took too long to deliver with a lot of airtime, and it allowed the defender to come over. Pickens had that guy beat.
That's going to be the difference. I think that Trubisky played risk-adverse.
Right.
Pickett's going to be able to go out there and play and let it loose, and that's going to be the difference.
And now it's his show. Unless there's an injury, he's playing the rest of the year. We'll hear what Mike Tomlin has to say. We have plenty more coming up. Don't go away. We're just getting started. Steelers lose to the Jets 24-20. What a weekend at Acrisure Stadium. Pitt gets throttled by Georgia Tech, and the Jets come in here and win. We've got reaction coming up next right here on Pittsburgh CW.
Welcome back to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point.
Yeah, so the Steelers miss a golden opportunity. They lose to the Jets by giving up 2 long drives in the fourth quarter. And while I've pretty much said in the past that the defense has been victimized by the Steelers' offense, who lead the NFL in 3 and outs and been on the field way too many snaps. This was on the defense late. They had the lead, and they gave up 2 long scoring drives. And quite frankly, Zach Wilson, for as bad as he played in the first half, I thought, was on spot, man. He was making plays. Last drive, 5 for 5.
Yeah.
He's a tough kid as well.
He's a tough kid. Listen, the first half, I thought the first quarter he played well. Second quarter, he struggled, and a lot of that was because of the Steelers' defensive line putting the pressure on him. Offensive line for the Jets really struggling. But in that fourth quarter, the Steelers' defense have to get off the field. He made some big throws on 3rd down, 4th down. A 4th and 7, I believe Bobby threw a 22-yard pass in this game. A 35-yard pass. No, 22-yard pass. And so you look at it right now, and the Steelers got to get off the ball. Those are the money plays. That's situational football that Coach Tomlin always talks about. And if you're going to have an elite defense, which the Steelers think they are, you've got to make a stop on 4th and 7, 3rd and 6, late in the game to preserve a victory.
Yeah, especially against that team. That team had not been very consistent. I realize Wilson was back for the first time this year. They've had Joe Flacco there. His mobility made it an issue. There's no question about that, but still, if you pride yourself on being an elite defense, even without T.J. Watt, you must make plays in those critical situations. They had a 10-point lead, and they gave up 14 points. And you just can't do that at home when you're in dire need of a win.
And they moved the ball. It wasn't big plays. It was methodically down the field, moved the ball, ran the ball, threw the ball, mixed it up, converted on 3rd down, converted on 4th down. They got after the Steelers in the fourth quarter, and they just played better than they did. They finished the game, and that's what the NFL football is all about, is finishing. And the games are won primarily in the last 5 minutes of the game.
So let me ask you this before we get to Mike Tomlin. We're waiting on him right now. There are timeouts taken away for teams when somebody gets injured. First of all, in the first half, both teams had simultaneous injuries, and they take timeouts away from both teams. I don't think that's a good enough rule. And then the second half, the Steelers have 2 guys late in the game, inside of 2 minutes, get down with injury. Next thing you know, they lose 2 timeouts, which could have been extremely helpful on the last possession where they had only 1 timeout left. Chris, that's a stupid rule and needs to be changed. I understand why it was in.
Yeah.
I understand that they think some teams fake injury.
Yeah.
But come on, when you're really hurt, what are you supposed to do?
The one that was
that
really
affects
weird
the
to me,
game.
it does affect the game. And the reason why is because even when a guy goes down and fakes an injury, that affects the game as well and gives them an advantage. So you remember years ago, a decade or plus, there was a time when defensive players would just drop. They'd fall down and pretend to have an injury, and to stop the drive, to slow the momentum, give them an opportunity to catch their breath. This was the result of that action by the players. Now you get timeouts taken from you if you fall with an injury. The one that was weird to me, Bob, what you pointed it out, was in the first half. The last 2 minutes, the Steelers and the Jets both had players go down in within 2 minutes of the half, and they took them away from both teams. That's weird because, you know, they're both
should be
doing
simultaneous and nobody loses it.
I get it. I get what you're saying, but I understand the reason why they have the rule in place.
Yeah, penalties were also a big issue with the Steelers. Again, every time you turned around, there was something. Dan Moore got called for a penalty, and then he gave up a sack promptly. Those are ill-timed, and they come with, you know, and they stall a lot of drives. We saw a careless one by the Jets today. Carl Lawson came in and just crushed Trubisky, I think it was, right? Where he hit
at the end of the half.
At the end of the half, and it cost him 3 points. And those 3 points, you know, Boswell at 59 is pretty much guaranteed these days.
I think that was the longest at Ashcroft Stadium ever. And, you know, I talk about the offensive line. There were a lot of penalties along the offensive line that put him at a disadvantage. Again, you had James Daniel go downfield on RPO. You had another, I believe it was Mason Colt that was downfield on an RPO. Then you had some holding penalties. There was a struggle on penalties for the offensive line, but at the end of the day, I thought that they were able to protect Trubisky and Pickett when they needed to.
So I'm of the conclusion now this is Pickett's team for the rest of the year, no matter what.
Rest of the decade, right?
Rest of whatever, but I mean, we're talking about this year. So unless there's an injury, of course.
Yeah.
But I like what he, brought in. And listen, I understand, and I've been saying this anyway, I think the NFL also will crank up its schemes to try to affect Kenny Pickett. He's a rookie, a young quarterback, and we've seen him, even with guys like Zach Wilson last year, who did not have a good year, injured this year, but he had more picks than touchdowns. But Kenny Pickett seems to have an adult ability, to get in there and make things happen. He spent a lot of time at Pitt. He developed and he's mature. He seems to be able to handle this. What do you expect from him moving forward?
Boy, he's fearless, right? He goes out there. He understands that it's his team now, so he can go out there and take chances. It's a little different, Bob, when you're like Trubisky and you go out there on the field and you're worried about making a mistake. You're risk adverse because you feel, if I throw an interception, am I going to get pulled? Or if I throw too many of these, are they going to eventually pull the team away from me? With Kenny Pickett, now he can go out there and he can let caution go to the wind and throw the ball around and make plays, and that's going to be his advantage as he moves forward. I also know that he has the fans behind him. That energy is palpable. It is real when you're on the field and you're playing with all the fans pushing you and yelling for you. It makes a difference in your play, whether you like it or not. And so I think Kenny's going to benefit from that as well.
So do you think Trubisky was the man being cautious, or was this ordered by the coaching staff?
Well, I think Trubisky's being cautious. I think there were throws that he didn't make because he was worried about throwing interceptions. You saw that Pickett, he threw the back shoulder fade.
So he was looking over his shoulder.
Oh, there's no question. I mean, and even if you try not to, you naturally do, because you know when you draft a first rounder at your position, whether it's quarterback, whether it's tackle, whether it's receiver, on the defense side of the ball, your days are numbered.
Yeah, there's no question about that. So now, looking at this offense, the way it's been called, there are certain things that I see from Kenny Pickett that I like, and I hope they incorporate into their game plan. He's not afraid to run when he gets out of the pocket, and he got a big conversion on one of those 3rd and 6 plays where he went and got the yardage necessary. And that's another thing that I think Trubisky has been a little hesitant to do at times. Mike Tomlin is getting ready over there to address the media, so we're going to be hearing from the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
We're disappointed
Let's go there right now.
But what transpired is not anything mystical, and that's what we talked about as a collective in there. No disrespect to the Jets, man. They made plays and won the football game, but it's not about who we play. It's not about rabbit's foots and so forth. We got to play better. We got to put them in better position. We got to perform better, and I'm talking about the collection of players and coaches in there. It's very tangible and fundamental things. I thought we were, highly penalized, particularly in the first half. I thought it killed some drives. Obviously, we got to possess the ball better. We got to get necessary stops when we need them. We just got to do a better job than we did today. It's not broad sweeping things, but it's never broad sweeping things in the NFL, man. It's a fine line in this business between winning and losing. And so acknowledging that, we have to absorb the negativity with our current position, man, and roll our sleeves up and remain resolute, man, and keep working. And we intend to do that. From an injury standpoint, Edmonds is in the concussion protocol. Cam Heyward had an elbow and an ankle. Cam Sutton has a hamstring. Minka's knee is being evaluated. Don't have a lot of information there. I'm sure I'll be able to update you guys the next time we come together. Questions?
Mike, what went into the decision to put Kenny in?
Just thought we needed a spark, man. We didn't do much in the first half. Not enough offensively, and thought he could provide a spark for us.
Do you expect that decision to stick into next week?
I'm not going to talk extended as we sit here. We did what we needed to do to put ourselves in position to win this game, and we'll do it again. But I like to just keep it where we are in terms of what transpired here today. We'll deal with next week.
How would you evaluate Kenny's performance?
Thought he did some good things. I thought, there was some energy there. We scored some touchdowns, but obviously we also turned the ball over.
Like, defense had them pretty bottled up until the last couple of drives. What changed?
Some attrition things, fatigue, et cetera, but also execution by the Jets. And that's what I mean in my opening when I said I'd be remiss if I didn't compliment those guys. They made the necessary plays. We had some penalties on possession down, like plays. They did enough to keep drives extended and move the football, and we did.
Like the throw that went off of Fryman's fingertips, was he trying to throw it away on that? Was he trying to squeeze it in?
I didn't get a chance to have conversations with the parties involved there. Talking about the late one. I didn't have conversation. I was managing the defensive unit, which was facing a sudden change.
Anyone else? All right.
Appreciate it.
Oh, that was rather short. I expected more in there, but he said it was a spark. They needed a spark, and clearly they did in that first half. 6 points. Again, the most disturbing thing to me was they had a team like the Jets coming in here. They knew they had a really daunting schedule ahead of them, and yet in the first half, it was almost as if 10 days of preparation resulted in nothing.
Yeah, and listen, I saw it a little differently than you, Bob. I saw a team that came out and they did things differently. They ran the ball. They had some concepts that I feel were a little bit better than they had the first 3 weeks of the season, and things were coming together. And again, I go back to that Deontay Johnson touchdown that wasn't. If that was a touchdown, Bob, this would be completely different. He didn't make throws. There were some concept throws that were over the middle of the field where they ran a guy underneath and the linebackers bit. Charles Davis pointed that out, and there was a ball over the top. I think that was to Pickens. And so there were other things that came up that they didn't have earlier in the season, but they did not score points. And in this game, it takes points to win, and they didn't put them up.
Yeah, need points. You can't settle for 6.5 and expect to win, and no touchdowns in the first half of a home game against a team like the New York Jets at this point. And that put them behind. They battled back. They took a 10-point lead, and then their defense gave up 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. The good news, the rest of the league today lost.
Yeah.
Buffalo, which is Pittsburgh's next opponent in Buffalo, they came back. They were down 20-3, and they beat the Ravens. And then you have the Browns losing to the Atlanta Falcons. So now all of a sudden it's 2-2 leading the division. Steelers are 1-3 in last place.
1 game out of the lead.
Mitch Trubisky is now talking. Let's go there and hear what he has to say.
Doesn't matter what I think. He did what he thought was best for the team, and we came up short today.
Mitch, what happened in the first half? It seemed like you took some shots down the field, but ultimately just weren't able to get some.
Took some shots, didn't connect, didn't score enough points, got pulled at halftime. That's how it goes. So it's just business as usual. We just got to find a way to pull together as a team and get better from here. So disappointed, obviously, but that's part of it.
Mitch, you have any expectation for what happens next?
Nope. Just come into work, be a good teammate, continue to try to be a leader for this team, and go back to work, help any way I can. And it's just it's a tough deal. So it's definitely not what I wanted, not what I expected, but it's part of it.
Do you think he'll come back to you, or no? You think that's all?
Who knows? Who knows?
You think it was
Sorry, I know you're behind me.
No, don't worry about it.
Do you think it was performance related, or he was looking for a spark in the second half?
You have to ask him.
That's what he said. He was looking for a spark. Just
Looking for a spark. There you go.
Mitch, on the sideline with Kenny, you're trying to be encouraging to him in that point?
Yeah, just trying to communicate, tell him what I'm seeing. I thought he did a good job. We just got to protect the football and get back to work.
Anything else?
Thanks, guys.
Well, that pretty much sums it up. He's clearly disappointed, frustrated, said he's not sure what's going to happen next week, and I don't think Mike Tomlin definitively said anything about the Buffalo game coming up. And when he was asked, Chris, about do you expect to be the starter next week, he goes, who knows?
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah, it's absolutely frustrating. I can only imagine what's going on inside right now. I mean, he's got to be super frustrated, just broken, because you put everything into this game, you go out there and get everything you got, and then you get sat down. When the reins are turned over to a first-round draft pick, your days are numbered. And so it's looking that way. Coach Tomlin's not going to show his cards right now, but you've got to believe that now that they interjected Kenny Pickett into the lineup, I don't know how they go back, Bob.
Right. That's my point. Unless they feel it's just overmatched. And from what we can tell, that's not going to be the case. It would take an injury. We're going to take a break. We'll recap the injuries, and there are several of them to talk about, plus more player reaction, and then later we'll take your calls as the Steelers drop to 1-3, a 24-20 loss. 20-10 lead turns into a 24-20 loss at Acrisure Stadium. More reaction next.
Welcome back to the neighborhood Ford store Steelers Extra Point.
Welcome back. Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke with you. So you see, it is basically a very mediocre AFC North right now. The Browns lost to Atlanta. The Ravens lost a big lead to the Bills at home. Bengals have won 2 in a row, and the Steelers are now dropping to 1-3. So things will ramp up for the Steelers over the next 4 weeks, 3 of them on the road. Chris, I want to ask you, we spent a lot of time in the preseason talking about the Steelers' very efficient quarterbacks with no interceptions the entire preseason, all of them. We're very good in that department, but things do ramp up in the regular season. And even today, we saw 6 total interceptions, 2 by Wilson, 1 by Trubisky, and 3 by Pickett, although the last one, again, was a Hail Mary. But the point is, it gets much more difficult in the regular season.
There's no question. And everybody thought because Kenny played so well in the preseason that would translate into the regular season. Listen, he didn't play horrible today, but he had 3 turnovers, 2 that were crucial late in the game that led to long drives for the Jets. And it's different right? You saw the one play, Bob, when Kenny was rolling out to the sideline and looking to throw the ball, and he ended up running. Quinton Williams, who is a D lineman, he was running like a DB, and he ran down Kenny Pickett. It's a different speed. It's a different ball game when they've got the best versus your best. So Kenny's going to see a team now. Now when he goes next week, if he starts against the Bills, they're going to game plan for him. They're going to have film now to watch and see what his strengths are, what his weaknesses are. They're going to take away his strengths and attack his weaknesses. So it's a different ball game. It's not all that you thought it was in the preseason because he played so well. That doesn't mean he's not going to do well, but it's just going to be a little more challenging.
And especially on the road at Buffalo and then Tampa, which has the #1 defense in the entire NFL. All right, now it's time for our player of the game, and this is brought to you by #1 Cochran. Go one better, and certainly George Pickens had one of his better games. Chris, 6 receptions, 102 yards, 17 per catch. And again, a beautiful throw by Kenny Pickett to give him a chance on one that he had the advantage over the defender. The ball was there before the defender could turn around.
Absolutely. Listen, it was much more of an effort to get the ball to Pickens with Kenny Pickett. I mean, in the first half, he only had 2 catches for 31 yards. Second half, he had, 4 catches for 71 yards, a different deal.
Kenny Pickett is live. Let's go there now.
With the outcome we worked so hard for, definitely something that, we need to learn from and move on.
Jalen Warren took the ball for the pitch. You said he thought he might have been a little bit deep on it. Was that the case, or did you just
No, I got to get it. Jalen's fine. I got to get him the ball. I think I got stepped on a little bit. I got to look at my footwork and see what happened. But the pitch has to be out front and definitely a lot more catchable, so that's on me.
Kenny, were you trying to throw the last one away on the sideline?
That was, I wanted it higher than that. Definitely either Pat was going to get it or it was going to be out of bounds. I didn't put it high enough. I cannot throw an interception there in that point of the game. Obviously, we're moving the ball well, want to be aggressive, but at the same time, the clock was our friend there, and I wanted to, possess the ball and not do that and give him good field position, so I can't make that mistake.
The result's what matters, but at the same time, being out there, getting those couple of touchdowns, can you take through the emotions that you felt when you scored those?
Yeah, I know, guys, that, a lot of emotions, but, the only thing I'm thinking about is winning out there, so I was just kind of, staying in tune with the game and what we needed to do to come out with the win, and, that didn't happen. So it's something that I definitely need to learn from quickly and get it fixed for whenever my next opportunity may come.
Are you surprised? Any inclination that you possibly could be going into this game if things weren't going well?
No, I was never told that. Just coach came in at halftime, said I was going, so just kind of, put all the preparation. I prepared like the starter. I spent a lot of time at the facility to get ready, so I felt pretty good while I was in there.
What's your preparation been like these last couple of weeks? What's your preparation process been like these last couple of weeks?
Like I'm the starter minus the reps. So it's just, you don't get a lot of reps, but that's why I have to be really tuned in mentally, go through every single read that Mitch was getting in practice, in game, watch the film as if I'm the one playing, just so I could be prepared if my opportunity did come, which it did today. So definitely, a great, learning process that I was able to be a part of to help, prepare me for today.
Kenny, the fans have been behind you since draft day, but still to hear your reaction, what did you think of that? Yeah,
it was great. The fans are passionate. They want to win, and no one wants to win more than us. So we put a lot of work in. We have to come out with a win there. Something that we need to learn from, like I said, quickly and get back on track.
How about the reaction for you personally? The reaction to you personally when you went in?
Yeah, like I said, it's great. I really appreciate all the support. But like I said, I got to go play a game, so it's definitely I didn't spend too much time on it. I thought that we picked it up in the second half there and had the ball moving, but the turnovers killed us, and that's on me. So I got to get that right quickly.
Kenny, what have you been told, and what do you expect for next week?
Haven't been told anything. We just lost, didn't have a chance to talk to anybody. So.
Kenny, Mike Tomlin said he made a switch to you because he wanted to give the team a spark. You feel you gave him a spark? And could you sense that?
I don't know. I just played with an edge. I think that was something I wanted to bring to the table. I do not like to lose. This is not a good feeling. I don't want it to be a familiar feeling. So I definitely want to get back out there and get a victory. And get us back on track. So I think a little bit of an edge to me. I want that to rub off on everybody. I want us to be have an attitude with it's out there on the field. So I'm excited to get back to work and get us back on track.
Kenny, you didn't get a lot of reps with Pickens in the preseason. What can you say about the chemistry you two showed on the field today?
Yeah, I mean, any rep I could steal with George, I try to get one on the side, or Deontay, any of the guys. The ones I really never really got a chance to do a lot with. Anything that I could get, I would try to steal on the side, or the couple reps I'd get a day. I really want to take advantage of those and treat those like game reps. So when the time came, I'd be ready. So I think all that definitely paid off with some of the timing stuff that we were doing.
Obviously, Mitch was disappointed for the switch to happen, but what was the dynamic like with him on the sideline in that second half?
Yeah, he was great. Communication was great. Just trying to help me out, just the way I was helping him out. He's a great guy, and definitely glad that he's on our team and I have him as a teammate.
Did you feel like the whole offense was on the table, the whole game plan when you came in?
Yeah, I mean, I told Coach. I mean, I was prepared. I knew every call in the plan. I told him don't change up, just because I'm in there. Let's let it rip and see what happens. So I was prepared. Definitely didn't want to handcuff us in any situation. I wanted Coach to call a game. He called a great game. Like I said, the plays were there and we made plays, but the turnovers killed us. So that's definitely on me, and I have to improve.
First ball to Kenny, or how'd you feel about the first ball to Claypool?
Listen, I mean, I told those guys if they're one-on-one, I'm going to give them a chance. We all feel really good about that receiver room and how talented every guy in there is. Chase on a safety, I'm going to take that and give him a chance. Sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way. That time it didn't. I get that, but he said he's going to go get it. I told him I'm going to throw him more passes, so I'm not gun shy to throw down the field to him at all. So definitely want to work the continuity, as soon as possible.
There was a play where I think you approached the line, looked like you were talking to the guys, and then you hit Pickens on the left sideline in the third quarter. Was that a hot route or a full audible? What was that?
No, I just wanted to get the protection right, so I had time to get it off. I knew where I wanted to go. I knew I had George one-on-one. I wanted to slide the line left. I would drift a little bit. Jalen would come across and pick up the man line of scrimmage, and I knew I'd have enough time to get it off. It's a fade, three-step. I'll get it up and down. Definitely a good play that got us in the position we wanted to be, but didn't. The outcome wasn't what we wanted.
How about the pass down the middle? The pass down the middle to Freiermuth when the big guy was right in your face. You talk about that play.
Yeah, I mean, listen, third down. 88 does a great job. It kind of, was a little similar to the Jacksonville play. I felt like in preseason, trusted him. He was going to be where he was, and he ran a great route. I wanted to give him a chance, and our line did a great job, I thought, all day. That group has improved tremendously. I think they're definitely the strength of our offense right now, and we're kind of taking their lead.
How tough is it to stand in there when that guy is bearing down on you?
It's not tough, man. It's in the job description. It is what it is. I'm a quarterback. That's in my job. So I tell those guys, stand in there. I really don't care. I know they'll get it right. My job is to stand in there and make throws.
Okay, did you read zero coverage on the sideline ball to Pickens on the last possession? I think it was third down.
Sideline ball to Pickens.
One-on-one down the left sideline.
The one that we just talked about earlier, where I changed the protection?
I didn't think you changed it there, but I might.
Yeah, I mean, I knew I was getting pressure. I thought it was one high. I got to look at it again, but I felt like it was one high, and they were, bringing a lot of pressure. I had press in the slot. I love George in that one-on-one situation, so I just wanted to give him an opportunity.
You had 2 rushing touchdowns, and you picked up the big first down on the scramble. How do you feel like you're confident in your ability to affect the game running the ball at this level?
Yeah, I am. I mean, obviously, I'm not going to, rip off 60-yard runs, but that's something I think that if they're going to drop underneath a lot of things and give me some running lanes, I can definitely use my legs and, get first downs. And in the red zone, it just adds another element. That was a play we had dialed up, I think, more towards the middle of the field. But when we asked about, when we get down there again, what kind of plays I liked, I put that one up first because I could either throw it a pad or I could take off and run. It kind of was a 3-way go, or I give it a notch. So, I mean, there was plenty of options. I like to have options down there and definitely use my athleticism as one of them.
Kenny, what do you think you're able to prove to your teammates, and how important is it to get that first opportunity kind of behind you here?
I mean, like I said, I wanted to win, more than anything. So I don't know what I proved to anybody, but we didn't win, so that's one thing we didn't do. So that's really my only focus.
Anyone else? All right. Cam will be coming in.
Kenny Pickett, I like it. I think he won that press conference very confident. He says, I hope it rubs off. I played with an edge. I wanted to affect my teammates. I like that. And he talks about throwing the ball up to his receivers, which we saw today. Chase Claypool had no catches in this game. The one that was thrown in his direction, again, he wants to give him an opportunity. It was a little behind him, but still, he's 6'4", Whitehead's 5'8". That's a mismatch that
There's
and his
no
arms
question.
were too close to his body, I thought, instead of extending for the ball.
Yeah, I mean, we can sit and argue about back and forth
I'm just
about the
asking
pass.
what you think.
No, I think that the ball wasn't at a point where he could high point it. Where the ball came in at him, it was low, right? The advantage would be for Chase Claypool if the ball was up high and he had to go up and get it. This ball, when it was coming down on him, it came low so that Whitehead could make a play on it. And listen, should he catch that ball? I think he should because he's a receiver in the NFL. He's shown he can do it in the past. He's got to catch that ball. It's either got to be an incomplete pass, Bob, or it has to be a catch. It cannot be anything else.
Yeah, A.J. Ross reported on the sideline when she was there that Chase Claypool went up to Kenny Pickett and said, it's pretty much on me, and he should have made that catch, quite frankly. We saw it in his rookie year. We need to see more of that if you're a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. We're going to take a break. We have more coming up. Don't go away. More reaction. Your phone calls will come up momentarily. We'll also take a look ahead a little bit at what the Steelers face now, because it only gets tougher. Jets win today, 24-20. Steelers are 0-2 at home. And 3 losses are all in the AFC. We'll continue right after this live on Pittsburgh CW.
Welcome back to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point.
All right, welcome back. We continue here. Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke with you. And the Steelers drop one by 4 points. They blew a 10-point fourth quarter lead. Jets get 14 late points on 2 long drives. So the Steelers dropped to 1 and 3. Pat Freiermuth made some big catches. The one in the middle of the field on Trubisky throw when he got nailed. That was the most impressive one, I thought. But he also had one go through his hands that resulted in an interception that turned the tide a little bit. Here's Freiermuth in the locker room after the game.
With what he can maybe do.
Yeah, he's a gamer. I mean, that's why they drafted him in the first round, is to make those plays, and he's going to stay in his pocket and deliver him when needed.
I don't know if you can ask this. Did it provide a spark to you guys when Kenny came in?
Absolutely. I think you guys can see it with the stands in the stadium. Yeah, it was a big spark.
For being the first time in an NFL huddle leading one in a regular season game, what was his demeanor like? Was it
calm? It's like he's been in that situation before.
Wanted to start. Can you guys bounce back from this?
Absolutely. We just got to watch the film and come together as a team and figure it out.
All right, back to the drawing board. Coming up against the Jets, they're going to have to go to it. Here are the final stats presented to you by JP Roofing. And Chris, your takeaways from this one?
Well, what stands out to me, really a big alarm, is the 4 turnovers for the Steelers. 2 interceptions thrown, actually 1 by Trubisky, 3 by Kenny Pickett, and that was the game. 2 in the fourth quarter. You can't do that late in the game and expect to win.
Yeah, 1 was a Hail Mary, which he had to do, so
yeah.
I take that away. But you're right. At the same time, though, those plays, it's so, Mike Tomlin used a Bill Cowher line when he said it's a fine line. Some of those plays are right in guys' hands, but they're high. Either you make the play, you don't. When you tip it, it becomes an interception. That's how good things are in the NFL with defensive players. There are a lot of good ones around the league. You look at the time of possession. For the first time this year, the Steelers actually won one.
Yeah.
After the Jets had a big lead, but the Steelers, churned away in the second half until the fourth quarter when things went in favor of the Jets. So now it's on to Buffalo. And Buffalo was an angry team after they lost last week, and they went into Baltimore. They were down 20-3 in this game, but Josh Allen and company came back and won. So
who would have thought that when they're down 20-3?
Yeah.
And it's tough to play in Baltimore. They came storming back with 20 unanswered points. That's a big win for them, because if not, they'd be sitting 2 games, and the loss, they would be at 2-2 right now as well.
Deontay Johnson had one go through his hands, resulted in an interception. He also had an almost touchdown that Chris referred earlier by an inch, not getting that 1 foot in, and it could have been a big play, obviously, in this game. He spoke after the game as well. Let's go there.
Yeah, as soon as he came in, the crowd was like happy for him to get in and whatnot. So, and then that made us, get it going, and we was able to put points on the board.
Mitch's interception, was that tip before it got to your hands?
Yeah, the player tipped the ball, and I wasn't able to get my hands on it, so, and they made a play on the ball. So, it is what it is.
How can you describe how this one slipped away from you guys?
You gotta play better. Gotta hold on to the ball. Just make those tough catches in those tough moments, and that's all we can do. Just continue to execute. Like, we can just say what we can do, all this and that in the third each and every week, like about how we could have did this and that, but like just talk too much. We just gotta play, put it on display. That's all we can do.
Are you shocked about this one?
I mean, yeah, we had it in our hands. Like I said, let it slip away. Just gotta get ready for next week. It's nothing we can do about it. We can say what we could have did better and whatnot, but that's not gonna fix the situation. the win or the loss got him. So, like I said, we just got to move forward.
You mentioned that the crowd kind of got
Certainly expect more from Deontay Johnson. They gave him a nice contract, 2 catches today. That was it, targeted 4 times. So let's talk about that interception, because that was a critical play. Now, you heard him say he believed it was deflected before it got to his hands.
It definitely was deflected. I don't think Trubisky saw the D lineman drop back into coverage, but that went right through his hands and was intercepted, and that led to the first points of the game, right? The Jets went down and scored and kicked a field goal to go up 3-0.
That was LaMarcus Joyner who picked him off, but it went right through the hands regardless. And, bottom line is those plays happen in the NFL, and they made him play in terms of 3 points, the first 3 of this game. When we come back, we'll likely hear from Cam Heyward, who was injured in this game, but he is speaking afterwards. We'll hear from him, and we'll also, actually, let's do it now. We'll go to him live before we go to break and hear from what number 97 has to say. Cam.
Oh, that's going to haunt me. Just being, we have to work together on defense. If we hit home up front, we got to make sure we're good on the back end. And when the back end holds up and buys us extra time, we got to finish those plays. Not enough coordination through the entire defense. And not enough attention to detail. Like, I know it's easy to say, but it comes down to that. The little things and, fitting in your gaps, understanding if we push it upfield and we string it out, we all have to get to the ball. Understanding angles. I don't think we did I think we did an okay job in the run game, but too much of that. And, I think first down was critical for us in the first half because when we were able to win on first down, it kind of set us up for second and third. It didn't allow them to just get to second and 5 because when you got to second and 5, your whole playbook opens up. I think that really put us in a tough spot. And when we did dominate that first down play, it really set them back. And then it came down to third downs in the fourth quarter, and we just didn't get off the field. You'd like to think third down, your money down, your attention picks up to detail, understanding what type of rushes you're doing. Sometimes they would go to different fronts to buy extra time in a Max Pro look, and we didn't clean that up as a front. We didn't hit home enough. And then when we did hit home, we didn't clean up on the back end. It's a cycle where we all have to work together. If one guy wants to eat, he better depend on the other 10 to eat, and the other 10 have to do their job. We all have to be accountable to make these plays and be a good defense.
And what needs to change so that those fourth quarter letdowns, those details are still there later in the game?
We have to be accountable for it. I think you got to look at the film. I'm not going to sit up here and just say, it's one guy or this guy. But, I think all of us have to be better. And, whether it's using your hands and getting off blocks, it's easy to say defense is 11-man front, but we are all accountable, whether it's run or pass, and making sure we do our jobs.
Do you have any clarity with Kenny in the game now in terms of this team moving forward? And not to diminish anything Mitchell did, but just in terms of you guys don't have to worry about answering the questions or worrying about the quarterbacks?
I don't know, man. I was not even thinking about, I was getting an MRI at half. I was getting an X-ray at half. I don't know what transpired, but I feel comfortable with either of those guys. We are trying to win a game, and we haven't won a game in, 4 weeks or 3 weeks? We have to do a better job on defense. If the offense gives you 7 points, so be it. As a defense, you have to be held accountable. Even on the trick play, right? We didn't contain well enough, and then we're wondering why the quarterback scored on that play. Everybody's not being accountable for our positions. That's just one play, but we all have to own up to that. the defense has to be a lot better, and I take that personally.
Cam, what you were saying before in your previous answer, they're going to some different fronts to max protect it. Was that a change that happened at halftime before?
No, that's something that we get every game, and they're buying extra time for their receivers. We have to hit home. Zach Wilson's a pretty good quarterback who's going to buy some extra time, and we didn't finish enough of our rushes. That's something that you have to continue to improve. You keep your tight end and your running back in, and they're hitting on the outsides. Alex and Malik and all of our outside players. They get bumped down, but we have things to accomplish to work through that, and we have to be better because of that.
In the most general sense possible here, your team's now 1-3 going into a really tough situation next week in Buffalo, tough schedule, needless to say. What's the mental state right now of the team? What's the confidence?
I think I'm absorbing this loss right now. I can't even, I don't worry about what happened in the past, what's in the future. I am focused on this game we just played. You tipped your cap to them. They got the job done. They went on the road and won a game. But we will address it tomorrow. There's a lot of football to be played. You can't run from it. You got to grow from it. You got to continue to just keep looking in the mirror. How can we be better? How can I be better? How can I get off blocks faster? How can I, be more of a force in the run game? What is it going to take for us to get over the hump? I think all of us have to be just concerned with winning the game. It doesn't matter what the stats look like. Doesn't matter who's at quarterback, who's not. We want to win the game as the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Can these details that you're talking about, are these similar things that cropped up the last 2 weeks, or are these new?
Yeah, they're showing their ugly head every single game. Even when we win, there are plays to be made and little things we can do to make those plays. We have to clean it up and grow from that. If you make mistakes, I'm not saying anybody's perfect, but we have to grow from those mistakes. We can't keep making those mistakes over and over again. When we do that, we set ourselves back.
Cam, you played with a lot of different pass rushers over your time with the Steelers. How much of what you guys are struggling with to get home is about timing and chemistry that you can see buffing out if you guys just keep working at it?
I think we're doing some things right, but it all has to be cohesive. Whether it's understanding if you have contained or letting a guy know you want to run a game. Those are things we have to pick up front. I'm fine saying that my group has to be better. I put a lot of pressure and a lot of pride in what we do up front. But that comes with communication. That comes with being comfortable with what you're doing and working together in tandem. It can't just be one guy being a cowboy. It can't just be two guys getting a call and other guys not. It all works hand in hand, and we all have to be responsible for that. I look at myself. How can I communicate better with the guy next to me or the guy inside me? Because we all have to be responsible, whether he's getting out of the pocket. Sometimes when it's quick passing, you want to get your hands up. You can't get pressure every single time. So it's a multitude of things. It's about working together up front. And we have to continue to pick that up.
I realize you might be more focused on the defense, but when you look at Kenny Pickett, there's a lot more that goes into being a quarterback than just throwing the football. There's the leadership and the intangible aspects. What stood out to you today in that regard, in terms of the way that Kenny carried himself after he got the call?
I think I was way too in tune with the defense. The quarterback position takes a lot of. Everybody looks at the quarterback position, and good or bad or indifferent, there's always going to be a spotlight at the quarterback position, and I think both quarterbacks can handle themselves. In some instances, the run game was good. We were able to run the ball a little bit better, but we all have to be better. I think everybody can look at it and say, 1 through 53, we all have to be better.
That's Cam Heyward, and you can see why he's the leader of this team. Handles everything the right way, knows what has to be done, and I'm sure it hurts him that they lost this game at home to the Jets. It was interesting because Kenny Pickett had just scored a second touchdown, make it 20-10. I think everyone felt pretty good about that. And then right off the bat, the Jets go down the field. And his defense, there were some comments he made about it. First, there was a 35-yard connection, Wilson to Wilson, Zach to Garrett, and then after that, a big 4th and 7. And it was a slant play to Corey Davis. That's a killer. You can get off the field, the game probably ends that way.
And a lot of those balls were uncontested. There weren't guys anywhere around them. These guys were wide open, and whether it was linebackers biting the cheese, like Charles Davis was saying, and coming up on the running back. I was always taught with Coach LeBeau and telling the linebackers, play deep, make them throw it underneath, and then run and tackle the catch. Don't let them throw over you. They get more yardage. But there's a lot of messages being sent there by Cam Heyward and a lot to break down. When I watched the film from last week, and I broke down the Browns game, and I'm sure it's going to be the same thing with this game, there are guys that's not doing their jobs. There are guys not in gaps. There are guys not using leverage. They're coming up, and instead of kicking the ball back in on a run game, they're letting the ball bounce outside. They're not playing as 11 guys. There might be 10 guys doing their job in one play, but there's one guy. If he doesn't do his job, the defense breaks down. And right now, whether it's communication, whether it's execution, there's a breakdown happening too many times, and that's what Cam's saying. One of the other messages, Bob, he was talking about was making plays. Right. Coach LeBeau used to always say, don't miss the layup. If you get to the quarterback, make the play. There was only one sack today. Of all the pressure they put on Zach Wilson, all the abuse he took, one sack. Sacks are huge in minimizing drives and stalling drives. They got to him and took him down one time. They've got to get there and get him down on the floor, and they didn't do it today.
I gave him a lot of credit, though. He's very elusive, and he got out of that stuff, and that's exactly what he is. He's a very athletic play. In fact, the one backward pass to him, and it got away from him, he made a tremendous play to just get it and toss it out of bounds, although I thought that play was short of the line of scrimmage. It should have been penalized. Should have been grounded.
But to me, though, you got to understand what your opponent does. You understand he has legs. You understand he's elusive. You've got to be more under control when you come down to him to bring him down. Don't come out of control 100 miles an hour. You've got to go long stride, short side, breakdown hit. And that didn't happen today.
We're going to take a break. Shortly, we'll be getting to your phone calls on this loss today by the Steelers to the Jets, 24-20. That's your final score. Steelers fall to the basement of the AFC North at 1-3, but they're just one game behind everyone else because everyone else is 2-2. We continue after this.
Welcome back to the Neighborhood Ford Store Steelers Extra Point.
All right, we're back, and let's take a look at the NFL scoreboard specific to the AFC North. Cleveland loses to Atlanta 23-20, so they're 2-2. Buffalo was down 20-3. They scored the final 20 points of this one. Big win for the Bills, a big loss for the Ravens, who had him, I thought, in great shape to win that game, and they let it off the hook. They're also 2-2. Team I predicted to get to the Super Bowl is doing pretty well. That's Philadelphia. They beat Jacksonville, a team that's better
on the rise
this year. Yes, on the rise, 29-21. Jalen Hurts is really doing a great job down there. So, and you know the Cincinnati won on Thursday Night Football as they beat the Miami Dolphins. And the Steelers, as we take a look at the Ford, your neighborhood Ford store road ahead, you're going to find it's not easy coming up here. And, you know, when you look at this, what do you see? Again, Tampa's defense. Everybody talks about Tom Brady, who's not been all that good so far, but Tampa's defense is number one in the NFL.
They play fast and they hit you hard. That's not what the Steelers want to see right now. But if you look at these next 4 games, Tampa plays tonight, right? They're 2-1. Those teams combined are 12-3 combined, not counting tonight's game. And so you look at it right now, the Steelers are 1-3. They're third to last in the conference right now, Bob. This is not going to help them right here. I mean, the Steelers got to hope that they can just break 500 and go 2-2 over the next 4 games and stay respectable. If not, if they go 1-3 again, 2-6 at the halfway point, it's going to struggle down the stretch.
Yeah, there's no question. I mean, the urgency has to ramp up, but these teams are good. 12-3 combined record, and it starts with the Buffalo Bills, who will be returning home after 2 road games. I thought they should have won in Miami, and they lost that game despite throwing the ball 62 times, and then they go and come from behind against the Ravens. So that's a tough loss for Baltimore. So we have a lot to do, coming up with people who I'm sure have a lot of opinions out there. If you want to call, you can do it right now. We'll get you going on the phone lines at 412-575-2600. That is the number of the Borders and Borders hotline of the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. So it's a special Steelers edition. That's coming up next. We'll take those calls. We thank you for joining us for this program here. Here's your line score. Once again, the Steelers only 6 points in the first half. Boy, they talk about starting fast every week, Chris, and it seems like it just does not happen.
And that's why you see yourself right here struggling to win the game. They're close. You've got to come out on fire, and they're not doing that really recently in recent years.
And the Jets get the last 14 points of this one to overcome that 10-point deficit, 24-20. Next up, your calls, your tweets. Let us know what you think about the Steelers at 1-3 right now. We thank you for joining us here on The Extra Point. Sports Call is right ahead.